Training Generalist Scientists, Joseph R. Royce, Ludwig von Bertalanffy, and the Seminar in Theoretical Psychology. The University of Alberta's Centre for Advanced Study in Theoretical Psychology had two missions: advancing theory in psychology and training a new generation of theoretical psychologists. My talk explores the Center's flagship course for accomplishing its educational mission. Before I get to the main theme of my talk, let me briefly introduce the Center itself. Its founders were psychologist Joseph Royce, biologist Ludwig von Bertalanffy, and philosopher Hermann Tennyson. During its existence, the Center was visited by over 120 distinguished scholars. Many of these visitors were key figures in the history of psychology. In this slide, these early pages from the Center's guest book include signatures from Sigmund Koch, John Holland, Michael Scriven, James Gibson, Karl Pribram, and Raymond Cattell. Many visiting scholars engaged in so-called seminars in the round. These sessions were noted for no-holds-barred discussion and debate. The bottom two photographs are of such a session. Karl Pribram and J.J. Gibson are both seated around the conference table in the middle. The Center was perhaps Royce's ultimate professional achievement. He wrote, "These intellectual exchanges have been among the most exciting and enriching experiences of my life." My colleague and co-author Cor Beerveld recently obtained a large amount of archival material concerning Center activities. Cor, his student and our co-author Evan Schillebeer, and I are in the early stages of studying the Center's history with this material. Most of my talk explores a single file folder of documents entitled Courses and Seminars. I'm interested in the curriculum contributions of two individuals. The first is Joseph Royce, who arrived at U of A in 1960 to become head of psychology. Royce's training and research interests were highly interdisciplinary. Shortly after his arrival, he initiated the planning of a theoretical psychology center. The second, perhaps better known individual of interest is theoretical biologist Ludwig von Bertalanffy. Royce brought von Bertalanffy to U of A in 1960 to help with the creation of the center. Von Bertalanffy, one of the pioneers of general systems theory, was also a keenly interdisciplinary researcher. His work aimed to establish links between diverse disciplines. In their writings, both Royce and von Bertalanffy expressed strong opinions about education. Both men were very much against specialization, and both argued for the need to train generalist scientists. Their founding of the center provided an opportunity for these ideas to become practical realities. Upon his arrival in Edmonton, Royce set into motion the creation of the center. Early on, this involved proposing interdisciplinary courses that such a center could offer. Correspondence between von Bertalanffy and Royce shows that they were exchanging possible course outlines in the early 1960s. Such discussions led to the creation of the Interdisciplinary Seminar in Psychology and Philosophy. This was a team-taught course, included one instructor from philosophy, and both Royce and von Bertalanffy were involved in its delivery. Some outlines of this course are in our folder. These outlines indicate that both men were central to the course's curriculum. For instance, one of the required texts was Royce's The Encapsulated Man, while another was von Bertalanffy's Problems of Life. Another course outline in the folder is for a Theory of Psychology course. Royce taught this course at the University of Hawaii in the summer of 1964. This outline is quite different from that of the Interdisciplinary Seminar in Psychology and Philosophy, which is not surprising because Royce delivered this Hawaiian theory course on his own. In the fall of 1965, the Board of Governors of the University of Alberta formally approved the center. Center members now felt pressure to justify this university support. The center's research mission was already established, but the center also needed to deliver on its teaching mission, in part to offer an olive branch to the Department of Psychology proper. The center thus launched its flagship course, Seminar in Theoretical Psychology. One motivation for this seminar was to provide a course that would be of relevance to psychology students. Our folder reveals the meticulous development of this new seminar. It relied on class discussion. Prior to each meeting, participants received a handout that provided required readings, optional readings, and some discussion questions. For most topics, our folder contains detailed notes in Royce's handwriting. These notes map out each week. In this example, the one topic has two different sets of Royce's notes, and there is evidence that these notes themselves have been revised. Our folder provides titles of 20 different weekly topics. Surprisingly, it does not contain an actual course outline. Because of this, we use the weekly topics to reconstruct a partial course outline. With this partial outline, it becomes apparent why Royce's Hawaiian outline is also included in the folder. The reconstructed outline of the theory seminar is a perfect subset of Royce's earlier course. This is our first indication that Royce was the driving force behind the theory seminar and that von Bertalanffy had a much smaller role in designing this new course. We use the Hawaiian outline to fill in the gaps in our partial reconstruction. The first week is pebble picking versus boulder building, a motif in The Encapsulated Man. The wide gap of missing topics late in the second term was likely filled with student-led sessions. What is the relationship between the new theory seminar and the old interdisciplinary seminar? This slide provides the outline of the older course. The only topics that are carried from it into the new course are those that are highlighted in gray. All of these topics are Royce's. Von Bertalanffy's topics do not migrate to the new course. Furthermore, while students in the new course still read The Encapsulated Man, Problems of Life was no longer assigned. Again, this points to von Bertalanffy's diminishing role in planning this new course. What kind of content did Joseph Royce believe was required to develop generalist scientists who could advance theoretical psychology. We used the weekly outlines in our file to compile a list of 122 required or supplementary seminar readings. We examined this list from a number of perspectives. This histogram provides the frequency of readings in terms of their year of publication. This graph suggests that the theory seminar was designed to be a fairly modern course because most of the readings were no more than a decade old. We use the authors of each of the readings to create a word cloud. In this graph, the size of a name reflects the frequency that material written by this author was assigned. Boring plays a key role in this course. Royce believed Boring, Koch, and Feigl were prototypical theoretical psychologists. A few quantitative researchers, Cronbach, Meehl, and Cattell, are also prominent, reflecting Royce's own interest in applying multivariate statistics across diverse research areas. When I created this word cloud, I did omit one name from the data. When this name is included, a slightly different sense of who was read emerges. This cloud is important, though, when one compares the size of Royce's name to that of von Bertalanffy's. This provides a different kind of evidence about von Bertalanffy's diminished role in the center's curriculum. In another kind of content analysis, we labeled each reading with its Library of Congress catalog number. This tree map provides the hierarchical distribution and frequency of the categorized readings. The whole colored graph is the entire set of 122 readings. The different colors represent different topics, and lines divide these topics into subtopics. The size of any rectangle reflects the number of readings that belong to a particular topic or subtopic. The large green square indicates that about 3/4 of the readings were from psychology. Within this green area, though, we see that general topics in psychology predominate. For instance, the majority of these readings, the BF1s, come from general psychology periodicals like Psychological Review or American Psychologist. Many of the other subcategories of these readings are general too, relating psychology to philosophy, for instance. Specialized areas in psychology, like behaviorism or testing, make up a very small amount of the whole set of psychology readings. The remaining quarter of the graph shows that students also read outside of psychology. Royce included readings in internal medicine, primarily psychiatry, social history, sociology, philosophy, epistemology, and ethics. Students also read American literature as part of the topic psychology and drama. Importantly, readings from biology are represented by a very small area of this entire graph. Recall that von Bertalanffy was a biologist. His Problems of Life is a general introduction to theoretical biology. Von Bertalanffy's diminished role in the planning of the theory seminar is reflected in this small proportion of biology readings that were assigned to students. In summary, my co-authors and I have examined a single file of archival material related to the Center of Advanced Study in Theoretical Psychology. We have used this material to reconstruct the outline of its flagship course, Seminar in Theoretical Psychology. We have examined this outline and the content of its assigned readings to get some sense of what Royce felt students needed to read and discuss in order to be trained as generalists and to become theoretical psychologists. By comparing this outline to that of an earlier interdisciplinary seminar, we have evidence that von Bertalanffy was much less involved in the planning of the theory seminar, in spite of the fact that he was involved in its delivery, that he helped create and deliver an earlier seminar, and that he was one of the founders of the center.